Welcome to Whiskey One, the channel for the novice, the curious, and the connoisseur. I'm Whiskey One, and today we're going to be tasting the JT Meleck Rice Whiskey. That's right, you heard me right, rice whiskey. So stay tuned. Whiskey fam, sit down and grab a dram and listen to the soothing sounds of your boy Whiskey One talk a little rice whiskey with you all. So I had the pleasure of getting this bottle sent to us by a fan. His name is Joseph San Nicolas, and he's local here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So shout out to Joseph for letting me try this bottle. Him and I talked a little bit about the bottle, what this whiskey was about, and he was really eager to hear my thoughts on it. He's seen several different YouTubers talk about it, they liked it, and really this is gonna be my first chance to ever try it. Now I've had like different whiskeys, sure, but I've never had a rice whiskey. And I'm actually gonna do a little bit of a comparison because I had a chance to do a little pre-gaming and I set aside a dram just to kind of let it aerate, oxidize a little bit, because this sort of reminds me of something, and I'll share that with you all. And I wanted to see like if it ever changed over time after like a good amount of oxidation. So without further ado, let's just get into this, shall we? Oh, not quite the, robust pop, but this is a robust whiskey. For you guys watching, this is bottled at 61.25% ABV, and it was aged for 4 years. Now, for those watching who may not know that you can make whiskey with rice, just know that, one of the tenets to be able to make whiskey is that you have to use grain. And yes, rice is a cereal grain, and certainly you can make whiskey with it. This is going to be something that doesn't really have the, the expected sharpness or spiciness that you could probably expect from like a rye whiskey. But I can tell you that this feels very sweet. And when I was pre-gaming, again, it did remind me of something in particular that doesn't really taste like whiskey and isn't a whiskey, but for those of you that like to sip and are enthusiasts of sipping and you're sippery, you'll definitely like this type of bottle. So let's start with the color and presentation. It is dark. Again, just being aged a little over 4 years, it's got a good amount of color. Now, I have seen whiskeys where it's aged for 4 years, unless it's over here in the Southwest, Texas, New Mexico, or Colorado, it doesn't really get that dark, but this has got a nice, I would say like between a burnt orange and a crimson type color. And oh boy, this has got some nice thick viscosity, as to be expected. Now this was a barrel pick by SLB Drinks. Who knew? I haven't heard of SLB Drinks, I'll be honest with you. So this must be like maybe local to Louisiana. Now, the backstory to this, I don't know all the deets behind these guys, just some basics. So JT Meleck was actually the first gentleman to start a farm like in the 1800s. And he decided to take a lot of land and grow rice in Louisiana. And generation after generation has been continuing that legacy and, running the rice farm, or running the farm and making rice. Along the way, some family members decided to take that rice and make some whiskey out of it. And that's what we're here to drink, is some of that legacy, that farm-grown rice to glass whiskey here. So let's get into the nose, shall we? Man, it's a little punchy. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little punchy. You do get the alcohol burn. One of the first things that I noticed was this was not a bourbon, didn't feel like a bourbon, although it definitely has like a lot of brown sugar. It's got a lot of caramel coating, caramel candy to it. It has, you know, like I said, really thick viscous legs. And one of the things that it sort of reminded me of is a cross between like a maple sugar, a little caramelized brown sugar, and like glazed donuts, a little raisin sprinkled rum cake. Have you guys ever had rum cake? I'm not sure that raisins are in rum cake that often, but for some reason I've had, I think it's like pound cake, maybe rum cake with the raisins in it. If you have, let me know. That's what this reminds me of, is that thick, spongy cake with the raisins in it. And it's got some sweet tannins to it, and just a light touch of leather. Not overly complex. If anything, I will say that this smells like a rum. So if you guys are rum sippers and enthusiasts, maybe you prefer to sip a rum and you're just maybe looking for a whiskey that might tickle your fancy, this will probably be the one that you want to grab. So let's dive into this and have a little sip. Cheers. Mmm. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Oh. You feel the proof. So, yeah, again, bottled a little over 60%. I like them to be a little punchy. I like them to be high proof. I'm sort of a proof hound. I like my cask strengths, but boy, you do feel every bit of that barrel proof. And Joseph did talk to me and say, hey, he had a different bottle that wasn't quite open yet, and it wasn't the barrel proof. So maybe after watching this video, he'll let me borrow that one too, and I could do either do a side-by-side or just a separate review. Come on, Joseph, let me see what you got. I'm gonna go back to this taste. So cheers again. Okay. Okay, the second sip, I got acclimated, but man, I'm not kidding. This is kind of interesting. You know, I kind of expected to be a little turned off by rice whiskey for whatever reason. I'm just so used to having, you know, like malted barley, you know, malt whiskey, bourbons, rye, and wheat whiskeys. But now that I've tried it, I'm like, interesting. It drinks like a rum. No kidding. Like, this has got loads and loads of brown sugar. It has sweet tannins. It's not oaky, and that's cool, because like just being aged a little over 4 years, sometimes, you know, that whiskey can feel a bit tannic. You know, it can feel a little young. This doesn't feel young at all. If anything, I think this is a great sipper. And if you're like into rum, this is gonna be something that's like right up your alley. It really does drink like a rum. And on the taste, like I was mentioning on the nose, like you get raisins. Like it's got a nice puree of raisins, feels like a sugar cookie, but very sweet. And I don't mean like decadent sweet, but just like lots and lots of brown sugar. That flavor just kind of hangs out. And, you know, on the finish, it's got a nice long finish. So if you guys do like the heat, you like a little bit of a fight with your whiskey from time to time, like to get pushed around a little bit, this might be the one for you. I'm interested to see what their non-cask strength barrel proof version is like. And you know, I don't typically add water. I don't know, call me a purist, call me a nerd. I really don't like to add water to my whiskey. You know, I feel like the distiller wanted me to taste it just like this, so I'm going to taste it at the proof that the distiller wanted me to taste it. So again, a quick shout out to Joseph. I really do appreciate you sharing this with me. I like this. I need to have this bottle in my bar. 100%. And although I'm not like a huge collector of rum whiskey, although I'm not a huge collector of rum and I don't have a lot of rum bottles, I do drink rum from time to time, and this really does remind me of a good solid, like, you know, high proof rum. All right, folks, so I realize some of you guys might be new to the channel, and I really appreciate you stopping by and checking me out. Hopefully you enjoy the reviews and you consider subscribing. Hit that like button, drop a comment, let me know what your feedback is, man. I always engage with the community. And if you can catch me on Instagram or Facebook, I do more detailed reviews, write-ups there, and certainly would appreciate you checking me out there too. So check me out at Whiskey One Channel. And if you're considering becoming a patron, just know that we have different discounts for you guys. Check out our different tiers because everybody's got a different preference for how much they want to contribute. But just know, like, my patrons get free access to our tasting events. We do virtual tastings as well. And we just have different things going on, and we would really like to see you guys become part of our Patreon family. So without further ado, we want to do another quick thank you to Joseph. Thanks again, my man. I do appreciate it. It's always nice to have a fan send us a bottle that we could try for the first time, and this was fun. So here at Whiskey One, always remember, it's about the one you enjoy. Cheers.